And let me go over here. Zoom. Okay. Go here. I'm trying to add the video's good. Participations, we have 3. It's already getting recorded. Well, we're live on YouTube as of right now. I don't know if they're able to pull that up, but it's not allowing me to add the video here at the moment. Let me see if we can add it. It's showing video, but it's... Sorry about that. Give me just one moment. They changed my software on me.
Is the video on display on YouTube? I could pull the video up.
Yes, it is.
Can you put the link in the chat maybe?
Give me just one moment. Go live. Go to... Pull it up here. Home. Live. CFLA. Pull it up here. Sorry about that. That was me just grabbing the link. And where's my chat? Down here. So, there you go.
Oh, I see there.
There's going to be a slight delay on our end on the YouTube video.
Okay, I can see the YouTube video. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, there's a delay on the video. Okay. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Can each person in attendance at the special magistrate hearing today, January 30th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. Please state your name and let me know which case you have an interest in. Obviously, Mr. Sova, I know you have an interest in all of the cases and you're there, but are you the only one speaking on behalf of the city today?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And then I think you mentioned before we went on the record that we also had with us Mr. Rigsby and Mr. Selby.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Okay. And are those the only individuals that are still in attendance today?
Yes, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm in attendance.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. David Young's in attendance. He's our Director of Growth Management.
And Mr. Daniel Sullivan is IT.
Who was the person before Mr. Sullivan? I didn't catch the name.
David Young, he's a Director of Growth.
Oh, David, yeah. Okay. Mr. Selby and Mr. Rigsby and Mr. Sova, I expect that you will be the only ones making any statements about any of the cases that are on the agenda today. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Okay. What I'd like to do is go ahead and swear you all in to give testimony during this hearing today. And then what I'd like to do is take your cases out of order than what's on the agenda, so you don't have to sit and listen to the other cases. So we'll take up Mr. Rigsby's case first, and then we'll take up Mr. Selby's case second. Mr. Sova, Mr. Rigsby, and Mr. Selby, will you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I swear the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Okay. And thank you so much. I appreciate it. So what I'm going to do is, Mr. Sova, I want to start with Mr. Rigsby's case. So that's going to be case number CE 23-00000040. And if you could, Mr. Sova, just start us with how the property owner was properly noticed for the hearing today, summarize your evidence of the violations of the subject property, and then let me know what relief the city is seeking due to the alleged violations.
Okay, yes, Mr. Rigsby was notified on January 9th for the notice of hearing that was scheduled for today. This was all delivered by certified mail. I first received a complaint from Miss Sophia Parker complaining of overgrowth of the property. At that time, that was on May 30th of 2023. I did take photos, which you should have with the case file. On May 31st, I prepared a notice of violation, which is the first one. It was sent to Mr. Rigsby with a compliance date of June 30th. On June 20th of 2023, the green card was returned to me as delivered and signed for on June 14th of 2023. On September 11th, I re-inspected the property and the property was mowed, but the vegetation along the fence row was not touched. September 12th, a second NOV was prepared. A notice of violation, the mail certified to Rigsby Rentals. September 22nd, that's when the green card was returned to me. It's delivered on September 22nd. This property is located in the view shed of the historical district of Lake City. And also we have 5 prior cases for overgrowth on this property. So basically, I'm sorry.
Wait, I don't know if you were speaking, but you sort of went silent there for a few seconds.
Yeah, basically the city is looking for the property to be cleaned up, the vegetation along the fence row. This is the vines and everything else is hanging over the fence itself. I'm not too concerned about the trees. I'm not too worried about that. But basically, we want the property cleaned up around the fence road that goes along around the property.
And how much time does the city want to give the property owner to clean up the property?
Usually what I give the property owners is 15 days. After 15 days, if the property is not cleaned up, that's when I'm asking for a $50 fine for each day that it's not having been cleaned up.
Did I hear you correctly that there had been 5 prior cases involving this property?
Yes, ma'am. I do have the case numbers. One back in 2015 with case number 140. One in 2016, the case number was 239. One in 2017, the case number was 513. One in 2020, the case number was 165. And one in 2022 with case number 54. And then the case that we're on now, which is 23, case number 40.
Do you have, I wasn't aware there were prior cases, there's probably prior orders. Do you have the dates of the prior orders?
No, ma'am. There was no prior orders. The owner of the property complied with those. The prior code enforcement officers only entered the case, did not add any notes to the case itself.
Okay. All right, and anything else, Mr. Silva?
No, ma'am, that's all I have.
Mr. Rigsby, if you'd like to come up to the podium and address the comments that Mr. Silva made and the alleged violations, I would appreciate it.
Sure. Where am I? Where do you want me to look? It's odd talking to someone specifically. I'll look at the monitor.
If you look towards the screen,
Okay, I got you.
it's on
Yeah.
catch you on the corner.
I got you. Okay.
You can turn it if you want to.
There you are.
No, it's good.
Okay.
It's fine. I just wanted to be, I don't want to be staring at a wall. Sorry. Yeah, my name is James William Rigsby. I'm the owner of Rigsby Rentals, Inc. And so just to give you a little bit more backstory on this property or just simple information about the property, this is undeveloped, vacant property. And historically, I mean, we have, I say we, me and the people that work for me, we have complied with mowing vacant property, which I don't agree with. It's kind of like expecting someone to mow the woods in my eyes. If you've got vacant property where nothing's ever been built, I have no plans to build on it. I bought it simply because it is adjacent to another property that I own, and it was just available for purchase, so I did. And what he said about there being several other cases in the past, yes, there were, and we mowed the grass, and that's why there was no other orders in the past. And I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at what happened. I just find it unreasonable. But so we've mowed it in the past, and now the expectation was that we clean up the fence line. And so the fence line to me has always been a buffer between my property and other people there. Historically, I've had issues with probably the people that made the complaint. They're the only people that are adjacent to it that would even have an opportunity to be bothered by it, but I don't know the people's name. But at any rate, prior to this complaint, in the past, we had a good bit of issues with a couple of the houses that are adjacent to it throwing trash over the fence. And there not being something there to kind of keep it from making its way onto my property, I didn't like that. Well, I was always having to clean up bottles and cans, and it was always liquor bottles and beer cans and stuff like that. And so that's why I wanted to keep the natural privacy fence, is the way that I look at it. And when this particular notice came out, we thought it to be the same as other notices in the past. Okay, well, we'll mow the grass and, everything's settled. And whenever it came to my attention that more was wanted, I actually wanted an opportunity to speak with whoever was kind of the last decision maker. And that's when, it came to my attention that it was basically this hearing that I was going to need to voice my concerns. And so that's why I'm here, and that's why I didn't clear the fence line, because I don't feel like it is a reasonable thing to expect someone to do that with a vacant property that's not developed, it's never been built on, I have no plans to build on it, and I just like a natural privacy fence between me and other houses. But when I say me, my property and other houses, because, excuse me, I meant to silence that before I came in here. That's basically the gist of it. And I could cite a bunch of examples as far as, things being unreasonable, as far as, to expect someone to essentially mow undeveloped property. In and around this town, there is actually city property, county property, and of course, plenty of privately owned property that's undeveloped and unmaintained as far as the vegetation. And I think that that's actually reasonable. If it's undeveloped, nothing's been built there, I believe that it's reasonable to not have to mow the woods, basically. And so that's my, my opinion and my desires, and I will be happy to comply with whatever you folks decide. I just wanted an opportunity to speak my mind on it, because I don't believe that it is a reasonable expectation. And whenever I voiced that to these gentlemen that work in the code enforcement area, they said, we hear you, but we don't make the decisions. Anytime we get a complaint, we have to file a code enforcement violation letter, and I needed something that was going to make a change, or at least have an opportunity to make a change, other than these gentlemen just having to take those complaints and then act on them without really having any other discretion involved. Where I myself, from my own personal property, I feel like it should be more my discretion as to whether I cut something that I see as reasonable to be there. It should be my discretion as to what to do. But again, I out of respect for everyone here, I'll do whatever you folks deem as necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Rigsby. Mr. Silva, do you have a response?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay. Mr. Rigsby, unfortunately, the code doesn't provide an exception for what you're speaking of. And Mr. Silva, you chime in if you'd like, but I read the code to say that it doesn't matter if the property is undeveloped or there isn't a structure on the property. So the code generally prohibits any property from within city limits, or basically requires any property within city limits to be maintained free from weeds or plant growth in excess of 12 inches. And then it accepts out, it says weeds shall be defined as all grasses, annual plants and vegetation other than trees or shrubs, and shouldn't include cultivated flowers or gardens. So essentially, that's how I see it applying in this situation. And I respect your position, and but the code is the code. So I think if you wanted to have a change to that, you'd have to ask the city council to make a change to the code. Mr. Silva, do you have anything at this point that you'd like to add, or do you agree with that? I just want to be sure that you have an opportunity to address Mr. Rigsby's statements and what I've just stated as well.
Yeah, basically the code reads 18 inches, not 12 inches. But it's basically just the way it looks around the fence row is an eyesore to the community.
I disagree.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Silva, I'm reading from the code, it says 12 inches in height, unless I'm reading that wrong. I'm looking at section 22-175, paragraph, let's see, 17. It says 12 inches in height. Are you looking at something else?
No, ma'am, I just confirmed that with Mr. John, my director.
Okay. Mr. Rigsby, I'm required to follow what the code says. And the code does require you to maintain the property because free of weeds, and that means under 12 inches within city limits. I am glad to give you some time to do that, and so that you can come into compliance. How much time do you think you need to bring the property into compliance?
I met earlier today with a gentleman that is waiting on the results of this meeting for me to give him a kind of the go-ahead to get me a price on his work, and I don't know an exact date because I would be sort of dependent upon a contractor to go over there and do something on his schedule. I don't know if he can do it tomorrow or a month. It's and I'm not trying to be too ambiguous here. I'm kind of dependent upon someone else on that level because what's dubbed part of the problem here is from what I can see, it's kind of difficult to separate one from another as far as part of a tree and vine. So my own people, as far as lawn maintenance and whatnot, I asked them not to get involved because I felt like it was outside the bounds of what I could reasonably request of them. So that's why I'm talking to a contractor on that. But I'll have an answer to code enforcement office. I'll have an answer to them as far as what the schedule would be from this guy. I'm sure by tomorrow. I can't imagine that it would be very long that it would take this guy to get to it, but I would be assuming something if I gave you an exact date, and I don't want to do that. But at the same time, I'll comply to whatever you guys see as reasonable on this. I can't say an exact date because it's not myself that's going to be doing it. It's going to be another contractor.
Well, the city's requested 15 days. Given that you have to engage a contractor, I'll give you 30 days.
That seems reasonable.
Okay. So we'll I'm going to go ahead and order that within 30 days of the date of the date that I actually issue a written order. So 5 days from now, and actually it'll probably be sent out earlier than that, I'll issue a written order. So it'll be 30 days from the date of the written order. Mr. Rigsby, you're going to be required to clean up the property and ensure it's free from weeds and plant growth in excess of 12 inches. In accordance with the actual 302.4 of the International Property Maintenance Code. In the event that you fail to comply with the order, then a daily fine of $50 per day will be imposed and start to accrue on the property beginning on the 31st day from the date of the order. Do you have any questions, Mr. Rigsby?
Not really. I can hopefully communicate with these guys as far as the effectiveness of what gets done, as far as to make sure that it complies with what they're expecting. Because I may not physically be here to see when it's exactly done. I'll have one of my people take pictures to send to me, but hopefully it'll fall within compliance.
Yeah, and I would, and I'm sure Mr. Silva would welcome the opportunity to work with you, make sure and identify what it is exactly that he feels like under the code needs to be taken down, so you can work together, make sure the violations are resolved in that manner.
I do have one other thing to say about this as far as what's going to be done in there, and that's kind of a question to them as far as what's really going to be expected of me is that, so there's a cross fence between the two lots, and I'm hoping I'm not going to be required to do the same to that cross fence, because that cross fence doesn't abut anybody else. It runs between one of my properties and the other of my properties. It runs perpendicular to the fences that run parallel to Alachua and Columbia Avenues. This runs perpendicular to those cross fenced. And I know you're not looking at a picture.
I believe Mr. Sova clarified in his comments that he was seeking for you to clean up the fence along the road. Is that right, Mr. Sova?
Yes, ma'am. Along the both sides of the road, which is Alachua and Columbia, and in between the two residents, in between the properties.
In between someone else's property and mine, or mine and mine, because there's another fence that separates one of those two lots from my own rental property that's right next to it. Because that, again, that's not abutting anyone else. That's my property.
Okay, but you have to keep your property clean.
I know what you're saying, but if it's abutting, all right, so maybe I need to meet you over there and go over this, because there's some things that I don't want to have to be required to take down, because that would actually, it does not hurt anybody, and it's certainly not an eyesore. I don't believe that cross fence, nor is the other cross fence.
Mr. Rigsby, technically the code requires you to maintain the entire premises. And so I'm going to make the order cleaning up the property as a whole and leave it to you and Mr. Sova to work out the resolution.
Ms. Marshman, I'll be glad to meet with Mr. Rigsby and the contractor.
Okay. All right. Anything else on this case, Mr. Rigsby or Mr. Sova?
No, ma'am, I have nothing else.
Anything more I share is going to be frustration, so I'll leave you alone.
Okay. Well, thank you. I really appreciate your participation today and your honesty. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll call up case number CE 23-000079, the case of Mr. Selby, the owner of property at 954 Southwest Spring Lane. Mr. Selby, are you able to come up to the podium?
Pardon me?
Are you able to stand up there?
Oh, you want me to get out there?
Are you able to stand up there?
I'll go a little while.
Okay.
Okay.
And while Mr. Selby's making his way up there, Mr. Sova, if you want to tell me about whether there was proper notice in this case, summarize the evidence of violations, and let me know what relief you're seeking as a result of the violations.
Yes, ma'am. On October 12th of 2023, I inspected the property. The structure burnt on September 20th of 2023 and is about to collapse in parts of the structure. That same day, I posted the property as no occupancy allowed. On the 12th of October, I can't even speak here. A notice of violation was prepared and mailed certified to the owner with a compliance date of October 27th. October 17th, the certified green card was returned to me as delivered and was signed for by Deborah Lee Selby. On the 23rd of October, I obtained a Lake City Fire Department fire fire report, which you have a copy of that report. January 9th of this year, I mailed a certified letter to Mr. Selby and scheduled for the hearing for today. Basically, what I'm looking for is demo of the property. I received a quote from Cross Environmental Services for $6,100 for demolition services, in which they have a contract with the city of Lake City.
Mr. Silva, I see that there were photos taken today, January 30th, 24, that I received. Did you took those photos today?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. And in your opinion, is the home, it looks like I can see the damage from what looks to be a fire. Do you believe that it's based on your inspection that the walls or roof could cave in as a result of the fire?
Yes, ma'am, I am. If you look at the first building, I think it's like a garage, that was untouched by the fire. And basically, all I want is demo of the house itself.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Anything else, Mr. Silva?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Selby, what do you have to say in response to Mr. Silva's concerns about the building, the state of the building, and his request to have the building demolished?
Well, the whole structure needs to be demolished. It's, there's nothing standing but the frame, and it's partially burned, but the entire inside of the building is gone. Everything in it was burned up. There is a viable garage still on the property. But it should be demolished. It's a hazard to the community, and it's an eyesore. The property is not mine. I've never owned the property. It's still in my mother's name. And we were just living there because my mother passed away in 2014, but she had to go into an assisted living, Willowbrook, before she passed away. So we moved in the house to more or less take care of it. And when she passed away, we just went ahead and stayed there. Didn't have to pay rent or anything like that, but we did have to pay the taxes on it every year. And we had a new roof put on it, which she wanted done before she passed, but she never got around to doing it. So we kind of took care of that for her. But as far as the deed being in my name or anyone else's name, no, it's strictly still in my mother's name.
Okay. So you agree that the home needs to be demolished?
Yes, it does.
And then the garage, do you think the garage needs to be demolished?
The garage is still viable. It has an electric door opener, but it doesn't work because the electric going to the barn was destroyed. But I mean, it can be opened and closed by hand, but it can be repaired when somebody go in and repair the electric to it. But other than that, there's nothing else on the property that's any good.
So, Mr. Selby, do you understand that if the city demolishes the home, that there's a cost to the city of, hold on, let me see the quote exactly, $6,100, and the intent of the city would be to put a lien, or the city would be permitted to put a lien on the property for that amount of money, for 6,100. So if you're whoever the owner is following your mother's death, if they were to sell the property, or the city could foreclose on the property, whoever buys the property is going to have to clear that lien. So it's going to have to pay that $6,100. So I tell you that to say that your family could demolish the building on your own if you think it would be, less expensive, or you could do it less expensively and didn't want the lien of 6,100 on the property. Would you like to have that option, or do you want the city to demolish the building?
I have a son that lives here. He's a first responder. He's with the Lake City Fire Department and Century Ambulance Service. He has a lot of pull with some people in here and with Branford and White Springs, or not White Springs, but Fort White. And he could probably get some people to come in there and demolish that. I'll have to give him a call and talk to him, but I'm sure he can do something. Get some. Actually, the property was left to him. Okay, when my mother passed, she actually put his name in her will, but it was never taken out of probate. So the property was still in probate. But Clifford, the son I'm speaking of, he would like to keep the property. I talked to him here a couple of weeks ago. He said he would like to keep the property, but he'd have to find an attorney and pay the $2,000 plus to get it out of probate. So he's working on trying to do that, but I haven't talked to him lately. So I'm going to get a hold of him tomorrow and find out what's going on. But yeah, he's wanting to keep the property.
Okay, let's see here.
Actually, she left it to him and a neighbor, but the neighbor passed away a few years back, so that's just my son's name would be on the deed now.
So, Mr. Sova, I'm concerned about entering an order on this property without knowing that the proper owner has been notified and been able to participate in the hearing. Because I do see in the file that the record reflects that the owner is it Louise Selby? Is that your mother?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Is your name Lois?
Lois Selby, is that your mother?
My mother passed away in 2014.
Is that her name though, Lois?
Is her name Lois?
Yes, her name was Lois Louise Selby.
Okay.
And the letter I got here is in her name.
Okay. So, Mr. Sova, what do you have to say to that? I mean, I'm just concerned again that we haven't that the proper owner, whoever that is, hasn't been noticed. It sounds like Mr. Selby, who's here today, is not the owner.
No.
Yes, can Mr. John come up and I think
Yep.
he wants to say something.
Please.
What? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me step right here just a
Yeah.
second. Okay, Ms. Marchman, since we're finding out that the mother has died and there is a will, we will need to ask for a continuance so we can look up the proper owner of the house.
Okay. So we will continue this matter then, and Mr. Selby, I appreciate you coming out today and providing the information. I'd ask that you work with Mr. Sova and Mr. Young, and perhaps connect them with your son and provide the will, and see if perhaps you can informally resolve the city's concerns and obviously your concerns that it's a structure, not a viable structure, and needs to be taken down, and perhaps your son can do that, and if he's the proper owner, and you won't have to come back again. But if not, I would just ask Mr. Sova to figure out who the proper owner is and bring the case back.
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Okay. All right, so we will continue case number 2379 for another day. Again, Mr. Selby, I really appreciate you coming out tonight, and I know the city will be in touch with you.
Thank you, Mr. Selby.
All right, so we will go back to the top of the agenda, which is case number 2335, involving the property located at 530 Northeast Sims Drive, Lake City, Florida. Mr. Sova, do we have anybody present at this time representing the property owner?
No, ma'am, nobody has showed up. Our witness, Miss Penny Ferguson, I found out she passed away about a week ago.
Who is Penny Parkinson?
She is the person that called the complaint in to me.
Okay. So who, it looked like the notices for this property were being sent to Henry Parker in Tallahassee. Who is that in relation to the owner?
Basically, he's a member of the lodge, and he's the head person of all the lodges around the state of Florida.
Have you been sending notices to the address to the 530 Northeast Sims Drive?
No, ma'am, that property is vacant. I've been sent to Mr. Parker, care of him, which I met with him and Mr. Nelson back in May of 2023.
Okay. And what did they tell you at that time regarding the property?
Basically, they said they would clean the property up and board up the windows and the doors.
Did they do so?
No, ma'am, they started the cleanup of it, and then they just totally stopped.
Okay. Have you spoken to him more recently? What about the January 9th, 2024 notice of hearing? Did you get the green card returned back to you that they received it?
No, ma'am, I haven't. Not as of yet.
The violations they received, those did you get signature proof that they received those?
Yes, on May 23rd, well, I mailed one out May 9th, gave me a compliance date of June the 8th of 2023. The notice of violation was delivered, returned to me on May 11th, and it was signed by Mr. Henry Parker.
So how do you know Mr. Parker is the proper person to serve these notices to? Did he confirm that?
Yes, that's what he advised me, to send all the correspondence to him.
Okay. Is there any way for you to confirm at this point that he received notice of the hearing today?
No, ma'am, not at this moment, I can't.
Did, the hearing was posted at City Hall, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And was it otherwise posted online or in a publication?
No, ma'am, just at City Hall.
Okay.
And it was also posted on the city website under agendas.
It was also posted on the city website under the agendas.
Okay. Um, let's see here. I think you sent me photos that you took today.
Yes, I did. Basically, what I'm looking for is for the board, the doors and windows to be boarded up and the property cleaned up of the vegetation.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just take a look at the code real quick. Mm-mm. So, Mr. Silva, I'm concerned that we haven't met the notice requirement for me to issue an order. So I'm looking at the code. And the code under section 2421A1 says all notices required by this article shall be provided to the alleged violator by certified mail, return receipt requested, provided if such notice is sent under this section to the owner of the property in question at the address listed in the tax collector's office for tax notices and in any other address provided by the city by such owner and is returned as unclaimed or refused. Notice may be provided. I mean, we don't have a return back yet.
You know, we do have the one
I
return.
Yeah, I'm worried about the notice of the hearing. I mean, we did. Hand delivery, leaving the notice at the residence. No, at my option, I can do notice by publication. I think what I'd like to do, Mr. Silva, in this case is have you confirm that I'd like to continue this and just confirm that Mr. Parker's been notified of the hearing. I'm just concerned about that because he's not here. And so I'm just not sure that he was properly noticed of the hearing. And I'd hate to issue an order without having properly noticed him and having the benefit of his input. Can we continue this case as well?
Yes, ma'am, Kid.
Okay. Okay. So that leaves us with one more case, which is case 2377. This is the case of Patty Shaw. And I was a little confused, Mr. Silva, about why this case was renoticed for today, because as you mentioned in your materials, there was a prior order which authorized the city to demolish the building if the owner did not do so. Are you sure you need another order today?
Cover our bases.
Yeah. We're just covering our bases, Ms. Marshman, to make sure we're doing the proper procedure.
Okay, I mean, the order, let me pull it up. Case 77. Great, so you have an order in the record from July 13th, 2021, that states, in the event the respondent, so the owner, fails to comply with demolishing the structure, then the city may take all actions necessary to demolish and remove the structure on the property, as well as bring the vegetation on the property within further limits, or within your city's limits. And then it allows you to assess the cost of the demolition and the removal, and add it as a lien on the property, as well as foreclose on the property.
Okay, so we can use that one order that you did back in 2021?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. We were just making sure we were doing everything.
Yeah, and I mean, if you you know, receive advice from your city attorney otherwise, I mean, bring it back, but I would basically be saying the same thing again. I don't see the need to do that.
Okay, yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay. All right. Mr. Silva, does that conclude our business today? Anything else you need?
No, ma'am, that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. We'll adjourn the meeting and we'll see you next time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.